we're going to be learning Parshas Acharei-Kedoshim, and about Parshas Kedoshim, we all know that Rashi says in the beginning of Parshas Kedoshim that Parshas Ahavat HaGer, Sheroiv Gufei Torah Tluyim Bo. Parshas Kedoshim has 50 mitzvahs, aseh and loisasa together, and it also contains the one mitzvah about which Rabbi Akiva says it's a klal godol b'Torah, which is v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, and I want to discuss this mitzvah of v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. You know, the pasuk says like this: Lo sikoim v'lo sitor es b'nei amecha v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, and then it says v'chiyogur. Many psukim later it says v'chiyogur itchem ger ba'artzachem lo soinu oisoi. Ke'ezroch mikem yiyeh lochem hager hagor itchem ve'ohavto loy kamoicha. Higerim hayisim be'eretz Mitzrayim ani Hashem Elokeichem. So what kind of ger are we talking about? It's mefurish in the Teres Kohanim that we're talking about what Chazal call a ger tzedek, not a ger toishov, somebody that was mekabel all the mitzvahs Torah, and he became a yid. So he's a Yisrael Gomer. And he's memela included in the mitzvahs aseh of Havta l'reyacha kamoicha. So why do we need the pasuk to teach us v'ahavta loy kamoicha about the ger hagor itchem if he's belav hachi included in the mitzvah of v'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha? You know, it also says over here about the ger oino. It says lo soinu oisa v'chiyogur itchem ger ba'artzachem lo soinu oisa. And as far as the oino is concerned, we have a Gemara in Bava Metzia Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis that says Tanu Rabbanon Hama'ane es hager, which means pashtus that he cheats, he sells him something overpriced. Hama'ane es hager orve b'shloisha lavin. What are the shloisha lavin? Because it says in Parshas Mishpatim, V'ger loy soine, that's one lav. Then it says in our Parsha, V'chiyogur itchem ger ba'artzachem loy soinu oisoi. And it also says in Parshas Bahar, V'loy soinu ish es amisoi. And the Gemara says, V'ger b'chlal amisoi. So really, the pasuk in Parshas Bahar is referring to all Yidden. A ger is the chaychat hayid, so he's included in loy soinu is ish es amisoi. Besides for that, there's another two lavim. So there's three lavim if somebody is ma'ane es hager. So we can say that the same thing is true about it's enochinami, that even without the pasuk of hafta loy kamoicha that it says about the ger hagor, he would be included in v'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha, but it's like just like we say lavar olav b'shnei lavim b'sholosh lavim, we can also say lavar olav b'shnei esin, that a yid that you don't love, you're only over on one asay, and a ger that you don't love, you're over on two asays. But it's not so pashut that this idea that the Gemara says in several places, lavar olav b'shnei lavin, if it's also applicable to esin, it never appears in the Gemara with regards to esin, with regards to mitzvahs aseh. Actually, Tosfos in Bava Metzia Daf Samach Aleph says that we only say lavar olav b'shnei lavin when there's going to be two malkusim. But if there won't be two malkusim, let's say if it's a lavan itikla aseh, then we don't say lavar olav b'shnei lavin. Oy bazoi, Mistama, we won't say lavar olav b'shnei esin because there's no malchus. So, oy bazoi, the question comes back: what does the Torah need to say v'ahavta loy kamoicha about the ger if he's automatically included in v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha? You know, the Rambam in his Shoroshim, in Shorish Chi and the Mitzvahs Loisas Sekuf Ayin Tes, says that when we say lavar olav b'shnei lavin, you only get one malchus. So if so, the obviously he doesn't hold like the Tosfos that we only say lavar olav b'shnei lavin when there's going to be two malkusin, because he holds that there are no two malkusin, even if it's a lav she'ein nitzig. He says lav b'shnei lavin is just l'chizuk ha'inyan. It's not that you get two lavin. So according to the Rambam, we could avada say that just like we say it about lavin, we say it about esin, even though it's never mentioned in the Gemara. In other words, that's what we could say. However, even though the Rambam says that lavar ola b'shnei lavin, there's no malchus, and therefore we could apply this to esin also l'chara. But the Rambam says that when the Gemara says lavar ola b'shnei lavin, it's only counted in the minyan ha-mitzvahs as one. If there's two azharos and a muzhar echad, it's only counted in the minyan ha-mitzvahs as one. No, but over here, the Rambam has two separate mitzvahs in the minyan ha-mitzvahs, Ahavas Yisrael and Ahavat HaGer, mitzvah reish vav and mitzvah reish zayin. So you can't say that this is a case of lavar olav b'shnei esin, because then the Rambam wouldn't have two esin in the minyan ha-mitzvahs. But l'chara, the pshat is pashut that true, the Rambam says that when there's a muzhar echad, when it's one shame, we only count it as one, even though the Torah repeats it twice. But this is not the case that we're dealing with over here, because it's true that every ger is also a Yisrael. But it's not true that every Yisrael is also a ger. Therefore, they are not really overlapping. Every ger is a Yisrael, but not every Yisrael is a ger. So Mamela, it is two shemis, and therefore they could be nimne as two separate mitzvahs in the minyan ha-mitzvahs. But Reb Sadia Goin only counts it as one mitzvah. He says, V'rei'acha kamoicha tach shekeim, and it's one umbrella mitzvah for Gerim and for Shar Yisrael. So Rav Perlo, in his Pirush on the Sefer HaMitzvahs for the Rasag, says, V'ozil bozel l'shitosei, the hareleken afkuse ba'aseizu, elo k'dei laver al hager bebeis esen. Ukvar nizbar etzleinu, the darkei shel Rabbeinu, sheloi limnois b'kayoytze b'zeh elo asei achas. The hainu oiso asei shekoilelas hakoil, v'lochein loi mono b'zeh elo asei achas. The hainu oiso shekoilelas hakoil, v'ahavto riacho kamoicho shekoilelas hager v'ha'ezroch, v'hishmit esei the Ahavat HaGer sheloi bo elo lechizuk ba'alma ulahagdil schora v'enka mitzvah chadosh. Now he's saying that Reb Sadia Goin holds, and he's an expert on Reb Sadia Goin, but I don't know where exactly Reb Sadia Goin holds this, that even when you have two esin, that one includes the other, but the other doesn't include this one, we count it only as one. Because that's the case that we're dealing with over here. The assay of Yisrael includes Gerim, but the assay of Gerim doesn't include Yisrael. Nevertheless, it's only counted as one. But that's l'chorah not the Shitas HaRambam. According to him, it comes out that there are three Shitas in Minyan HaMitzvahs, that the Gaonim hold and the Ramban holds, that when you have two Azhoris, even if the Muzhar is Echad, it's counted as two. The Rambam holds that if you have two Azhoris and the Muzhar is Echad, you count it as one. The Reb Sadia Goin holds that when you have two Azhoris, even if the Muzhar is not Echad, because one of them doesn't include the other, only the other includes this one, it's also only counted as echad. But I just want to point out, Rav Perlo is understanding b'pshitis that in the Ikeh mitzvah of Ahava, nothing was nischadish and nothing was nitoisef in Avas Gerin. It's the same mitzvah that we have to love your fellow Jew. That's the mitzvah that we have to love a ger. And that's why he's saying Reb Sadia Goin didn't count it, because Ahavas HaGer is included in Avas Yisrael, because he's the Choichet Hayit. And that's how we were assuming until now. also in the Shittas HaRambam. But we said that the Rambam counted because it's Shemois Chalukim, but not because it's not because the mahus of the mitzvah is different. However, I want to show you that the mitzvah of Avas Yisroel and the mitzvah of Ahavas HaGer is not the same mitzvah b'chlal. And therefore, Avad has to be counted as two because it's not the same mitzvah. If you look at the Rambam in Hilchos Deis, Perek Vav Halacha Gimel, the Rambam says, mitzvah al kol odom lehehoiv es kol echad ve'echad miYisrael kegufoi, shenemar v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. That's Halacha Gimel. Then the Rambam says in Halacha Dalid, Ahavas HaGer shebo v'nichnachs tachas kanfei hashchina shtei mitzvahs asay. Achas mipnei shehu bechlal reim, v'achas mipnei shehu ger, v'haTorah omra, v'ahavtem es hager. So I want to know why the Rambam decided to bring as the source for Avas Gerim the pasuk of Ahavtem es hager, which is a pasuk in Parshas Eikev, and not the pasuk in our parsha that says v'ahavta lo kamoicha about the ger hagor. Yeah, the Bayos it says ke'ezrach mikem yelachem hager hagor itzchem v'ahavta lo kamoicha. Why is he bringing the pasuk in Parshas Eikev v'ahavtem es hager? But it's mavur from the Hemshech Lashon Rambam. The Rambam says v'haTorah omra v'ahavta es hager tziva al Ahavas HaGer k'moishe tziva al Ahavas Shemoi. Shenemar v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha HaKadosh Baruch Hu atzmoi ohev gerim shenemar v'oihav ger. So the Rambam is telling us two things that are specifically true about Avas Ger. One is that the tzivui on Avas HaGer is compared to the tzivui of Avas Shmoi, Avas Hashem, and also that HaKadosh Baruch Hu atzmoi ohev gerim. These two things that the Rambam just mentioned only say in Parshas Eikev, because in Parshas Eikev it says, Ki Hashem Elokeichem Hu Elokeio Elokim v'goyme oise mishpat yosoim va'almone v'ohev ger losei sloi lechem v'simlo ve'ahavtem es hager. So over here the pasuk says a hakdama to the mitzvah of Avas Gerim that I love Gerim, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, and that's a Mesuim Dike Mechayiv in Avas Gerim. And when the Rambam says Tziva al Avas HaGer k'moishe Tziva al Avas Shemoi Shenema v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, what is the Rambam trying to say? Because it says es Hashem Elokecha, and by the Ger it also says the word es, just like it says v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. By the Ger it says v'ahavta es hager. Now that it only says in Parshas Eikev, because by Yos it says v'ahavta lo kamoicha. And Memela, this thing that the Rambam is saying that we compare Avas Gerim to Avas Hashem, because the Torah uses the same language, just like the Torah says v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, the Torah says v'ahavta es hager. That's why the Rambam needs the pasuk in Parshas Eikev. Avada, we need to explain what's the difference between the word es that it says. The Rambam's not making Gzera Shova. I mean, he's saying because it says the word es. I mean, what's so special about the word es? Why does that tell me something beyond the v'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha that says by Kol Yisrael? In other words, Kol Yisrael, it says v'ahavta l'reyacha kamoicha. We don't know that can be compared to Avas Hashem. But by Gerim, where the Torah uses in Parshas Eikev the language v'ahavtem es hager, we say that the Torah is comparing Avas HaGer to Avas Hashem. What's so special about the word es? So the pshat is like the Yisaydat Dvarim, my father said, that in the mitzvah of Ahavta L'Reacha Kamoicha, Hillel in Shabbos Daf Lamed Hey said that what's Ahavta L'Reacha Kamoicha? Da'alok tzani l'chavrich lo yisavit. What you don't want others to do unto you, you shouldn't do to others. The Rambam in Hilchos Eivel Perek Yudalit also says it in the positive sense. What you want other people to do for you, you should do for others. And as the Rambam says in Hilchos Deis over here in Halacha Gimel, Mitzvah le'ehoiv es kol echad ve'echad miYisrael kegufo shenema v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha lefichach tzarich l'saper b'shvachoi v'lochus al memoinoi You should do unto others what you want others to do unto you. So we see that the mitzvah of Ahavat HaGer is a mitzvah to do and not to do. To do what you want should be done to you, and not to do what you don't want shouldn't be done to you. You don't want to be done to you. But it's not a tzivui about a pnimiistic regesh. It's not telling me that I should love you. It's telling me that I should do for you what I want others to do for me. I shouldn't do to you what I don't want others to do to me. It's not about ahava in the sense that I actually have ahava for you. The Yesod HaDvarim is like the Ibn Ezra says on the pasuk Al Das Rabin, on the pasuk V'Ahavta L'Reacha, he says Al Das Rabin Shehalamed Noisof. That it's like it would say really V'Ahavta Reacha. People don't understand why is there a lamed here. He says they say the lamed is Noisof. It's as if there was no lamed because it's V'Ahavta Reacha. But the Ibn Ezra says it's not true. Valdaiti sheyeh k'mashmoi. Sheyehav hatoiv lechaveroi k'moi lenafshoy. That v'ahavta l'reacha k'moicha means you should love that good things should happen to your friend, just like you would want them to happen to you. You shouldn't want bad things to happen to your friend like you don't want bad things to happen to you. Therefore, it says l'reacha and not reacha. So it's clear that we're not saying that you should actually love him like you love yourself. The Torah is not asking for something on that level, that you should love somebody else as much as you love yourself. The Torah is asking, don't do to others what you wouldn't do to yourself, that you don't want others to do to yourself, and you should do for others what you would want others to do for you. The l'reacha is the tzivui. But by Ahavat HaGer, it says v'ahavtem es hager. So we're talking about actually loving him, the ahava pnimis. And that's what the Rambam says, that tziva al ahavosoi, that on Ahavat HaGer the Torah was mitzvah, kemoishe tziva al ahavas shmoi, diksiv ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, which doesn't just mean that I should do for the Rabbeinu Shalom what I would want the people to do for me, or I should do for him. It means I should actually be in love with the Rabbeinu Shalom. And the Rambam is saying that that's what the Torah is asking me to feel towards a ger. And the Rambam in the Sefer Mitzvah says, "Mipnei shenichnas b'toiraseinu hoisif hakel ahava al ahavosoi." So the Rambam is clearly saying that there's a greater measure of ahava towards a ger than to any other yid. Not like Rav Perlo was being done back and forth, that it's laver of b'shnei esen. It's not b'chlal the same esav. It has to be counted as two because it's a different mitzvah b'chlal. The mahus of the mitzvah is a different mitzvah. There's in the Targum Yonasan ben Azil in Parshas Kedoshim, he says on the V'ahavta Reacha Kamoicha that says by every yid, and by the pasuk V'ahavta Lo Kamoicha that says by a ger, he says V'terachim leikavosach the madat sani l'chavrich loisavit. So in Parshas Kedoshim, it says v'hafta l'reacha, and it says by the ger also v'hafta loy. And on both of them he says v'terachem leikvasach the madat sani l'chavrich loisavit. You shouldn't do unto him what you wouldn't want others to do to you. But in Parshas Eikev, in the pasuk v'hafta es hager, over there he says v'terachamun yasgi yoira. So the S is like the Rambam says, teaching me something totally different. Now there's a Tshuvas Rambam to Rabbi Ahavat HaGer, who was a Talmud of the Rambam. And the Rambam writes to him, Da shechoiva shechiyavtonu ha'Torah al hagerim g'doylahi. And here the Rambam says like this, Al ha'av va'al ha'eim nitztavinu b'kovoid u'b'mor. Al ha'neviim nitztavinu l'shmoy alohem. Ve'efshe sheyichabeid odom v'yira v'yishma mibi she'eino yohev. This a person could be have covered, moira, obey, even somebody that he doesn't love. So the Torah was mitzvah a person, he should obey his parents, he should be mechabed, and he should have moira. We should obey the Nevi'im, but that's possible without Ava. Va'al hagerim tzivonu ba'ava rabba hamesura le'leiv. Va'havtem es hager, k'moishe tzivonu le'ehoi v'shmoi, va'havta es Hashem aleikecha. L'chayra, by every Yid, there's a mitzvah of Ava, from the pasuk of Ahavat HaGer kamoicha. And Avada, typically a Jew's parents are Jewish, so, and Nevi'im Avada Jews, so Avada de Bechlal v'Ahavta Yacha Kamoicha. And the Rambam Bechlal ignores over here the mitzvah of Ahavat Yacha Kamoicha. But that's the pshat, because Bechol Yisrael, there's only a mitzvah of V'Ahavta L'Reyacha, which is Mada Aloch Sani L'Chabrich Lo'Isavid, but it's not a mitzvah to actually love them, and therefore it's only by Gerim that the Torah gave this mitzvah, which is a Ava Rabba HaMesura L'Leiv. That's only Noyeg by Gerim. And that only says in Avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu and in Avas HaGerim. So, Mamela, we understand that according to the Rambam, Avas HaGer Avada is counted as a separate mitzvah. And even though you would anyway have to have Ava to the Ger Mitzad V'Ahavta L'Yacha Kamoicha, but because the mitzvah of V'Ahavta L'Yacha Kamoicha doesn't go as far as saying that you have to have a Ahava HaMesura L'Leiv. That's something that's Neschadish in the mitzvah of Avas Gerim. So Avada, it's a separate mitzvah. Avada is a separate mitzvah. You know, in Rav Perla on the Sefer HaMitzvahs, so he brings from the Azhoros, Hari al Bargaluni, one of the Rishonim, that says that that is a mitzvah on Bezdin to accept Gerim, and that's included in the mitzvah of Avas HaGer. It says over there, Yechse betzilchem ger habol hizgayer, ba'oimroi, b'cho Hashem chosisi, yikabluhu v'yoidiuhu k'tzas mitzvahs. And this is under the banner of the mitzvah of Avas Gerim. It's kind of shocking because he's not a ger yet. How is he included in the mitzvah of Avas Gerim? But Bemis al derech zeh, it says in the Rosh, in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Zayin, it says that Amolas Hagerim mevorach Hashem kedishonu b'mitzvos v'tzivonu lomulas Hagerim. So where's the mitzvah to be lomulas Hagerim? Where's that mitzvah? So when the Tosfos HaRoshi says ki nitztavinu le'ehoiv es Hagerim v'hi efsher li'ois ger b'loi milah. Since we were told to be Oyeves Hagerim, and one can't be a ger without Mila, so that's the Vitzivonu on Milas Gerim. I mean, how's that supposed to make sense? Yeah? I mean, you see, obviously, that the Rosh is also saying that even before he's a Yid, he's included in the mitzvahs Avas Gerim from when he's Bola his Gayer, and therefore the Vitzivonu Al Milas Gerim is included in the mitzvah of Avas Gerim. How can we understand that? I mean, I just want to explain, because the Rambam in Hilchos Deis said, "Shetziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu Avas HaGer k'moi shetziva al Ahavas Shemoi." It would seem that the Avas HaGer is really somehow connected with Avas Hashem. It's not just k'moi. It's an extension of Avas Hashem. Avas Gerim is an extension of Avas Hashem. What do I mean to say? Because the Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs Hasei Gimel, says about the mitzvah of Avas Hashem. The Rambam says, Ukvar biyarnu, we've already explained, Shezois HaMitzvah, Gam Kein Koilels, the mitzvah of Avas Hashem also includes, Sheniye Koirim Livnei Odom Kulom La'avodosa Yizborach Ulahamin Boy. The mitzvah includes that we should also call on others that they should serve the Rabbeinu Shalom and they should believe in him. And why, says the Rambam V'zeh? And that's because Sha'ato tishete'ehav ish echod. If you love somebody, T'saper b'shvachov, you'll sing his praises. V'tarbe b'hem, you'll be marbe in saying his praises. V'tikra b'nei adam le'avoy, so you would want other people to love him. If you love somebody, you want everybody to love him, right? And v'zel derech moshel kain, shete'av oisa yis'ala be'emes. that if you really love the Rebbeinu Shalom, you want him to have more followers. You want him to have more followers. V'loshen sefri, v'ahavta Hashem, ahaveyu al habriyos. Make him beloved. Make people be oyev him. Ka'avram avinu, v'esanefesh she'osu b'choram. So now, if the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem is mechayiv, v'tikra bnei adam le'ehoiv oisoi, that we should call on people to come and be mizgayah. No, so Avad it's mechayiv to receive those that are coming. And that's what the Rambam is really saying. Ahavas HaGer is actually an extension of Ahavas Hashem. We could understand that the mitzvah of Ahavas HaGer is really not totally in him already being a Yid. But as soon as he's coming to become a Yid, the accepting of him and making him into a ger is part of the mitzvah of Ahavas HaGer. Al Koponim, we understand that that's why the Rambam is bringing the pasuk of Parshas Eikev, because over there it says about Ahavas HaGer es, and over there the Torah was magdim Ahavas Hashem, the fact that Kodesh Baruch Hu was oyev gerim to our mitzvah. Now, I mean, I have a chakira. If somebody loves a Jew and he doesn't know that he's Jewish, is he mekayim the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael? Yeah. The fact is that he's a reyacha. He's a yid. He's a reyacha b'torah b'mitzvahs. You're talking not aware, but you love him. Doesn't say anywhere that I have to love him because he's reyacha. But the way the Rambam defines the mitzvah of Avas Gerim, the Ava is really because he's a bolach zistachas kamfei Yashchina. And that's an expression of my Avas Hashem. So therefore, if I would love a ger without knowing that he's a ger, I wouldn't be mekayim the mitzvah of Avas Ger. I'm just clearing. Okay, now, according to the Shitas that Avas Gerim is noyig before the chalus of the gerus, like we see from the Ri al Bar Galuni and the Rosh, it's pashut that it's counted as an independent mitzvah because it actually is noyig even before he's included in the mitzvah of Ahavta l'Reacha Kamoicha. He's not even Jewish yet. But in the Rambam in Hilchos Deis that says that a ger has two esen, you see that he holds that the mitzvah of Ava is only chal once he is a ger. But nevertheless, since the Rambam Lamaisa said that the mitzvah of Avas Gerim is a different mahus of a mitzvah, so Avada, it has to be counted as a separate mitzvah. Now, there's a fascinating thing happens in the Ramban in this week's parsha, because the Ramban, on the pasuk of Ahavta l'Reacha Kamoicha, he says like this: B'tam v'Ahavta l'Reacha Kamoicha haflogin. It's really a guzma. Don't think that the Torah actually expects that you should be oyev your reya kamoicha. Ki lo yekabel leiv ha'adam sheyehav es chaveroi ka'avosei es nafshei. It's very interesting that the Ramban, says lo yekabel leiv ha'adam, and therefore the pasuk needs an interpretation, and it can't be read to mean what it simply means. He says it is just not possible. V'hoid shekvar bore bakiva. So it's not kamoicha. Elo mitzvahs haTorah sheyehav es chaveroi b'chol inyan, kasheyehav es chaveroi b'chol hatoif, v'yitochen ba'avur shaloi omar ba'ahavta es reyacha kamoicha, v'hishva oisam b'milas lireyacha, kamoi ba'ahavta loi kamoicha deger. He palmim sheyev adam es re'eu b'dvarim yeduim leitivay ba'oisher v'loy b'chochma v'miyeh oyavoy b'chol b'koil yachbeit sheyizker re'eu ha'ovloy ba'oisher nechosim v'koved u'b'dasim b'chochma but v'loy sheyishvei elav elayich chofetz b'liboy lo'olam sheyeh hu yosim imenu b'chol toiva v'yitzav ha'kosev. Anyway, see, he says the Torah is not really saying kamoicha. It just means that he should have what you have, and he shouldn't suffer the way you don't want to suffer. And that's why the Torah doesn't say es, but it says lirayacha, just like it says loy kamoicha by the ger. But it's a pelolachar because the Ramban is bringing the pasuk that it says by a ger v'hafta loy kamoicha, And that's, he compares to v'ahavta l'reacha, and he's being medayik from the lamed that it doesn't really mean that I have to love him like myself. It just means I want him to have what I have. And he totally ignores the pasuk in Parshas Eikev where it says v'ahavtam es hager. And the Rambam Taka learned from es hager that it's a mitzvah of ahava masur l'leiv. How come the Ramban is ignoring that? So I think the pshat mistam is that by the ger, Taka says es, but it doesn't say kamoicha. In other words, by the ger in Parshas Eikev, where it says es, it doesn't say kamoicha. Over here, where it says kamoicha, it says by the ger v'ahavta loy kamoicha. In other words, it can't be es kamoicha. Es means the ava masur l'leiv, and you can't love somebody ava masur l'leiv like you love yourself. So therefore, in Parshas Kedoshim, where it says kamoicha, not only by the reyacha but also by the ger, it says loy, just like it says le reyacha, and it doesn't say es. In Parshas Eikev, where it says es, it doesn't say kamoicha. So the Torah over there is taka demanding ava masur l'leiv, but not on the level of kamoicha. The Rambam seems not to hold like that because the Rambam says that it's kamoicha tziva al avas shmoy. And in Avas Shmoy, it says, La'avas Hashem Elokecha kihu chayecha. So it's really yekamoicha. V'haraya we even machoyiv Mesiras Nefesh mitzad v'ahavas Hashem Elokecha. So I guess if it's included, it's an extension of Avas Hashem, then it could be Ahava HaMasur L'Leiv, which is on the level of kamoicha. The Rambam doesn't make this distinction that the Ramban makes. Avada will have to still explain Avada by a ger. Also, there's the halacha of chayecha koidman l'chayech havercha. But I have a whole explanation for that. We're not going to get into it now. And I think we're going to leave it at that. V'harbe yesh laharich b'zeh ve'en kan hamokim v'hazman laharich. And I wish you all a guten Shabbos and everything good. Okay.